things I do in real estate. I don't know if you can see that. Probably not, because it's darkness onto darkness into darkness, like my life. That's a Flue, and I'll get that straightened out too.
Well, hi there. My name's Charles Ray Dawson. I'm the Associate Broker Residential Sales Manager at ProStar Realty. This is the Unnamed Real Estate Podcast, episode 224. So, I'm halfway concerned about technical difficulties on this because I just changed out my operating system to Windows 11, so everything is looking a little bit different, and I'm not really sure how well everything is going to respond. But as you can see, I'm having a day. I'm having a week. So I hope you guys liked the intro. That was shot live on location at one of my listings, responding to something called a Binzer, which we'll be covering here in the near future, like in about 5 or 10 minutes after I get past the numbers and everything. It's been a long, hard week. So long, so hard. And so I really haven't had a lot of time to do research, catch up on the local news. I've been working my circles, okay, and what that means is actually, there's one of the podcasts that I listen to is called The Art of Manliness, and they were podcast episode this week is how basically to deal with stress and being overwhelmed by everything. And so the gentleman on the podcast was he's Navy SEAL, writes books remember when nobody had ever heard of the SEALs because they went out of the way to not be known? I mean, Green Berets, they had songs and movies and stuff like that, but the SEALs just got it done and they didn't brag about it. And next thing you know, everybody, Jocko, Goggins, all these guys are running around out there just making bank on the back end. But this particular SEAL wrote a book about how to deal with various stressors in your life. And what his solution was, and I can't remember the acronym, but in a nutshell, reduce your horizons, okay? Don't think of it as like a 1-year mission or a 6-month mission or how am I going to get past the next 2 weeks, because that can be overwhelming, all right? What you do is you narrow your time horizon down, all right, with an actionable step. And sometimes that time horizon might be as simple, I'm going to record my video, or I'm going to go take a shower. I am going to get out of bed. And then you take that. Taking these small steps actually helps you reduce the overwhelming, oh my God, everything that's going on right now this second, and encapsulates it small, easy, bite-sized, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So that's been a big part of my coping mechanisms for this week, and that in relearning the lessons of Parkinson's law, all right, which I had forgotten and I really should have implemented more. And Parkinson's law was originally written in a satirical article, but business management caught on to it. And Parkinson's law says the time required to do any particular task will grow to fill the time allocated to perform that task. So if you give your employee 3 months to get a report done, he's going to take 3 months to get that report done. All right. Nobody's going to go out there and knock that sucker out in a week. All right. And just, hey, came out and, got this done, 2.5 months early. What do you think, boss? It's like, it's going to take that time. So giving your employees or your contractors a set time period. All right, to go, hey, you got this long a time to get this done in. All right. And it's almost a correlation for you Star Trek nerds out there. There was an episode where Montgomery Scott from the original series is on the Next Generation Enterprise, and he's looking through the engine room with Geordi, and Geordi's like all sitting there with his little goggles on and whatnot. And call comes down from the bridge, hey, Geordi, how long is it going to get you to get the whatever done, the flux capacitors reallocated? And Geordi pulls up, it'll take me 2 hours, sir. All right, we'll get her done. So, and then Scotty looks at him and goes, what did you just do? You just told me you'd have it done in 2 hours. And Jordan goes, yeah, it's a 2-hour job. He goes, no. You tell them it'll take 4 hours and then you get it done in 2. And that's how you get a reputation as a miracle worker. All right. So the Montgomery Scott correlation to the Parkinson's law. All right. And so I'm sitting here with all these vendors, and we're gonna cover this in a bit. And it's like, oh, when does this due? It's like, I need it tonight. Noon tomorrow? No, tonight. All right. Well, when do you have to get it over to the other side? Well, I need to get it over side by midnight Thursday. Oh, okay. So I'll get it to you by 6:00 Thursday night. No. You are a step. And we're gonna cover that here in a bit. But it's a lot like Congress. Okay. We're going to take it right up to, but as soon as there's Memorial Day weekend, all of a sudden they start passing votes. All right, so let's get on the numbers real quick so I get them out of the way. So we're going to look at the numbers here for May 21st, 2025. Actives this week are 26,357, down 33. This is our second or maybe third continual week of actives dropping. Our new listings are 2,227, which is down 168, so we're definitely slowing on the inventory coming in. Our contracts went up just a little bit to 2,405, up 35, and our closings last week were 1,784. Coming soon to an MLS near you, 598 new listings. Now, things are slowing down on the active properties coming onto the market. All right. Unfortunately, they're also slowing on the buyers. The buyers who are out there are pretty much getting under contract, and the buyers who aren't out there aren't showing up yet. So our supply is now at 109. Our demand is at 80.7, giving us a Cromford Report index number of 74.1. Now, our interest rates have gone up, or back up above the 7s, all right, because if you guys weren't paying attention, Moody's apparently came in and joined the other two rating services and dropped the value of the United States government from AAA to AA+, which is basically going from an A to an A-, right? But still, this affects various things. One of which is if you have a bond fund that says we only cover AAA bonds, and then all of a sudden one of the bonds that you hold suddenly drops to AA+, well, you got to sell those suckers, right? Because you are contractually obligated to make sure that your entire portfolio is made up of nothing more than AAA bonds. So a bunch of bonds hit the market, which lowers the price of the bonds, okay, which raises, okay, the return on those and kicks off basically real estate loans then start going up. All right. Trust me, the math works out, and I think we've covered this before, so we'll cover it again at a later time. All right, so that's what we got going on along those lines. Let's break it down to our individual areas, okay? We only have 3 weak sellers markets right now, Chandler, Avondale, and Fountain Hills, okay? Since then, Glendale has dropped, all right, over the last 4 weeks has dropped to a balanced market. All right, a balanced market is Glendale, Phoenix, Paradise Valley, Scottsdale, Gilbert, Mesa, Tempe, Cave Creek, and then we get into, sellers markets, buyers markets. Now we're in the buyers market side. And we're starting off with Peoria, Goodyear, Surprise, Queen Creek, Buckeye, Maricopa. Our 5 areas that gained are Fountain Hills, barely, Goodyear's, Queen Creek, Buckeye, and Maricopa. These are places where you can get the deals, and even including Fountain Hills. That's how you get to live rich, but not pay rich prices, all right? So you can see that's the bargain shoppers. People who are still out there who need to buy are going to where the bargains are, all right? Surprised. Really don't know why they dropped down like that. So that's what we got going on in the market in the world. So as the intro saw, all right, we're going to wrap this up because, I don't know, almost sounded like somebody came in. I'm here all by myself right now and hyper-caffeinated. That's why I'm talking so fast. I wanted to cover why you saw me in a fireplace on the intro. All right. The reason why you saw me in a fireplace on the intro is because I have a listing. All right. My listing is currently under contract, and we received something called a Binzer. All right. The Binzer, all right, look, training aid for you guys who need these kind of things, stands for Buyer Inspection Notice and Seller's Response, BINSR. The Binzer is the result of the buyer's inspection period. So Remember, we got under contract. The seller is responsible to giving the buyer, all right, a seller's disclosure statement going, this is what we know about the property, all right? The seller's property disclosure statement, we call it the SPUDS, all right? The SPUDS goes across to the other side and say, hey, this is my experience living in this house. And the buyer then looks at it, initials it. I've read this. I am aware that you have told me all these things, and then sends it back to the seller side. This is actually called an estoppel statement, right? Legally. Asterisk. Hey, I haven't done that in a while. Asterisk. Ray is not an attorney, all right? But still, that states, all right, I have notified you. You cannot sue me saying that I did not tell you something because I have formally notified you in this document stating we had a roof leak in 2010 and this is how we fixed it. Make sense? All right. So the buyer has a 10-day inspection period. They get to throw everybody and their dog that they want to at this 10-day period. Case in point, the buyer on my property, the buyer side, took the whole 10 days, got us the document in our possession at 9:19 p.m. of the last day. Right, which is just way too late to deal with. Now, for some reason, they had not delivered that document before 11:59 was over and we were into the next day. They would have been out of the inspection period, and they would have not have delivered a Binzer, which would have meant they had categorically said, we are going to buy this house without any conditions based, we're not going to ask for any repairs. We're not going to ask for anything. So they got it in at the last moment. And I knew this was coming down. All right, because in the contract, what we do is we get a home inspector out there. The home inspector goes through the property, gives us a report. The seller then, or the buyer then needs to send the seller a copy of that report. Hey, just so you know, here's a copy of your report, the report of what we found on your property for your records. All right, and so the agent sends it over, and we read it. All right, I read it with the agent. Like, we go through the things like, all right, yeah, you got some stuff going on here. And she goes, well, I want to get some contractors out to look at these things. It's just sort of price things out. I'm like, okay, and I know where this is going to go. All right. In this process, there's something that I call dread game. All right. It just happens. It used to be very informal, and then they formalized it in the contract. But we get a report. I'm sending you the report. I'm going to let you think about it for a couple of days. All right. Seller's going to be looking at it going, oh my God, I didn't realize there was all this stuff wrong with this house. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. Oh my God, this is horrible. And then you hit them with the Binzer. And when you actually hit them with that buyer's, inspection notice and seller's response, there's a lot less things that you're suddenly, they've gone catastrophic. Okay. They were looking at worst case scenarios. And then you got what seems like a really comfortable ask. All right. If this sounds like a certain Cheeto-flavored politician that you're thinking of right now, it's exactly the same thing. Exactly the same thing. I'm going to tariff you with an inch of your life. Oh, no, the tariffs are only going to be this much. I mean, this is how the world works, right? So my job, I'm on defense, okay? I am the seller's agent. So we're looking at these things. And as she's, the agent on the other side is starting to signal, hey, we're looking at this. We're looking at this. I'm lining up my guys in the backfield. All right. So sure enough, we get the Binzer, and the Binzer has multiple things on there. Okay. And the multiple things that are on there are roof, not just a roof repair, but the whole roof. Okay. A whole bunch of stuff with the pool, and it's just a freaking checklist. But I get this with the terms, the buyer still wants the house. All right, great. Because we still want to sell you the house. Right. I'd also really consider if this is the right house for your buyer, depending on all the new stuff that they want on this. And wouldn't it have been better if you just took them to a new build? That way they could get the new roof and the new pool pump and the new cartridge filter instead of the sand filter and the new hot water heater and everything else that the other side decided to ask for. This, that, and the other thing. So once the Binzer is delivered to the seller then has 5 days to come up with a response. All right. Today, Thursday, is day 5. All right. I need to get over to the buyer's side what my seller intends to do and what they're planning to address. Now, this particular inspection report, Binzer that came over had multiple different vendors referencing multiple different inspections that we never saw. I've never seen the roof inspection, the actual roof inspection done by the qualified roofer that the buyer says that they had done. I got a quote for a new roof, but I don't have the report, the inspection report. So that means my side, well, we're going to get our own vendor anyway. So I got an inspection report from another roofer, and I'm going to look at that roofer report, and I'm going to sit down and talk with my seller and go, hey, their roofer says this. Our roofer says this. All right, they have asked for a new roof. How would you like to proceed? And then we're going to come up with what we're going to do on this. Okay, I got a pretty good idea what it is, but hey, operational security, I ain't saying it over an open comm. All right, but same thing. One of the things that was called out, let's just break it down this way. Hot water heater is slow getting to hot water to master bathroom. Replace the cartridge. I walk out there, I turn on the hot water, I look at the hot water. Okay, it takes about a minute and a half for the cold water to work its way through the pipes, which is about a 35 foot flow, from where the hot water hit is to actually where the shower head is. And you let it run for a minute and a half, and hot water's coming out. Not great hot water. Not a fan of the hot water. So while I'm out there, I go look at the hot water heater. Okay. And the original report said, oh, this hot water heater appears between 20 and 25 years old. And I'm looking at an inspection sticker from 2007, which is 15 years. But here's the thing. The yellow stickers on hot water heaters have a date on them that is the date of the new federal standards for hot water heater efficiencies. They stopped doing it after 2012. All right. But you would see 2002, 2007, 2012 on those stickers. So now we know that because it says 07 on it, right? We know that thing is broke down between 07 and when the buyer bought the house or the seller bought the house in 2010. So now we know it's somewhere in that window. So 15 years. Hot water's turned on. And then I checked the thermostat and realized, you know what? This thing is turned down to like the lowest possible setting. So I walk in there, I tell the seller, just straight up, hey, seller, if you had married me, you'd be having hot showers for the rest of your life, because I would have turned up the heat on the hot water heater. So same thing with other little things like that. So, you know what? My screen just froze. I think we're still recording. I'm going to save this video real quick, and we're going to do a part 2 on the other side. So hold on for a second. Okay. So you guys don't realize this, but it is like literally 30 minutes later after I stopped the last video, because I put that, rendered it, put it in the can, and then next thing you know, I went to record part 2, this part, and I couldn't see the can. The little light was on. I wasn't sure if I was recording or not. It was just showing a black screen. So I had to restart, which of course that means Windows suddenly goes, oh, you have an update. This, that, and the other thing. Jessica came in. I needed to whine and snivel on Jessica. I was like, they're being mean to me. And so, because we haven't seen each other in about a week or two. Like, seriously, this is the first time I've been in the office since like last Thursday. So, wait, was I in the office? No, because last Thursday I was recording from the VFW. So that would explain why the plant died. Okay, so where we were talking about Benzers. So, as you come back with this, they're going to ask you for various things they want addressed, because buyer does the inspection. Buyer sends over the report, okay? And they're like, hey, this is the Benzer. This is our formal notice that, 1, we want the house and we love it as is, no repairs. 2, we suddenly realize this house is a death pit and we don't want to live in here, so we're canceling the contract and we want to earn its money back. Or 3, we got some things we'd like to see addressed. All right, that's the notice. The seller's response is looking at the things that they want to get addressed and then coming back with, this is how we plan to deal with those things. And the seller sends that back over to the buyer, and the buyer has 3 days to come back, say yes or no. All right, they don't get to renegotiate. They don't get a yeah buts or anything. It's a take it or leave it at that point. So we're working on getting that together. I got one more vendor that I'm waiting to get a quote on. It's a quote I was supposed to have last night. All right. I'm going to start going, once I'm done recording this and it starts running, I'm going to start checking my emails to see that's all in there. And then we're going to respond back. But, the reason why you saw me in a chimney or in a fireplace was because the inspection report said the fireplace flue does not open. And I went and played around with it, and it was pulled a chain, and it sort of rattled, and some debris came down. And so I cleaned it all up, and then I actually went in there a couple days later with a serious flashlight, and I went, wait a minute, there's 2 chains here. And I pulled the other chain, and the flue opened. Now, more stuff came out. Fortunately, I made my dodge roll, okay, dexterity for the win, and rolled out of the way before I got hit in the face with 15 years worth of stuff built up in there. And then I cleaned it all up. But hey, Flue works. I took a picture of it. I sent it over to the other side and go, Flue works. And she's like, did you get it unstuck? And I said, no, I pulled the other chain, the one that opens the flue. All right. Your inspector was pulling the chain that closes the flue. All right. So things in real estate, there's a lot of things that real estate, I do. Okay, I'm not even going to say all real estate agents, right? I do when I'm going through the Binzer. Because a lot of times you just see these things and it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, you got cold water. Why do you have cold water? Because the thermostat's not turned up. All right. Or, hey, this is missing something. No, it was right there the whole time. So you got to pay attention to these things. A lot of agents like to use the Binzer as an excuse to renegotiate the contract. All right. They're hoping that you will throw a price drop at them on the other side. Okay, well, there's a lot of stuff here. My seller doesn't have time or the money or anything like that. How about we just drop the price? Great. All right. But, if there's stuff and if you have the resources in hand, like a handy real estate agent and a handyman that you have a $500 credit with and a family member who's a contractor, you can get a lot of things repaired and replaced. All right. So one of the things I'm adamant about, okay, is stuff, gates to a pool. All right. Making sure all the gates have springs and all the gates close. So you're not just watching children and pets around the water. You're actually keeping them from the water if you can't watch them. All right. You're also looking for any flooded areas in the house or out on the streets. All right. You're communicating, talking to everybody and working your circles, and especially keeping your time horizon down into the time period where you can actually affect what's going on instead of just like paying attention to things that are going on in Ukraine or whatever like that. And we're going to have a great weekend once this is all said and done. If you guys are in the area, I'm going to be at the Fry's up on 13th Street in Bell. All right. Collecting money for selling poppies for the VFW and the Cooties. All right. I'll be there from 1 to 4 on Saturday. Some of my viewers might actually be there too. And so if you come on by, wave hi. I'll be there in the red shirt shaking a little plastic can with a little plastic flower going, would you like to buy a flower for the lady? So, and I'll tell you how that all goes out and all the rest of this goes out this time next week. I'll catch you guys later.